Cheat engine, so nostalgic. This old piece of software that I remember from more than a decade ago when I discovered I could give myself sun points in Plants vs Zombies with it. But what exactly is Cheat Engine? Well, it's a program released in 2000s and used to debug and scan the memory of an open process on your computer. Some people even use it to do reverse engineering, but what it's mostly used for, as the name implies, is for cheating in computer games. Even though it's old, it's still getting updates and works like a charm. But it left me wondering, could I make a clone that does just that? More specifically, what I wanted to do is let me cheat in games by manipulating the memory of the program. As it turns out, the way Cheat Engine works is quite simple actually. First, we select a window or a process running on our computer, then we will search for a value from within our game in the memory allocated to that process, which most of the time will result in a list with a lot of addresses. We then can go back into our game and change the value. For example, we can throw away an item on the ground to have less items. We then introduce the new value into Cheat Engine and search again, which will only search through the addresses that we found previously. This way we will reduce the number of addresses that are potentially valid. We can do this any number of times until we have only one address left. Finally, we can change the value located at the memory address and bam, we have 69 diamonds. One thing to keep in mind is that we are not searching through the physical memory on our computer, but through something called virtual memory, which maps to the physical memory and is managed by the operating system. There are many benefits of why virtual memory is a thing, like security, but I will not go into details. I will, however, go into the details of how I made my program, so bear with me. For testing purposes, I first made a simple console app that can be hacked more easily. It keeps in memory a value that you can increment one by one, and also the previous value that was stored. You can choose to increment the value, or you can do nothing and it will display the values again. To scan the memory like Cheat Engine does, we're gonna have to call some functions from the Windows API. First, we need to call enum windows, get window text, and get window thread process ID with a sprinkle of is window visible to filter out the windows that we don't care about. After selecting the window, we're going to import our initial value and scan the memory. For that, we need to use open process with the necessary access flag and the process ID that we saved earlier from our list of windows. This will give us a process handle that we can plug into our other functions. Because we are looking through the virtual memory of the OS, we're going to loop through the memory regions starting at address 0 while skipping regions that are not committed, not allocated or reserved but not backed by the physical memory. To get that information about the memory regions, we're going to use virtual query X and store that information in a struct. We're also going to break out of the loop when virtual query X fails. When we reach a valid memory region, we're going to use the memory information to check if we can read and write to it. Then we can use read process memory to remind you to press the like and subscribe, to save the values of that region in a buffer in which we can search for the exact addresses that hold our desired value. To make things faster, we can split the region in multiple chunks and use multithreading to process each one of them in parallel. And now we have a list of pointers that we can filter through, which is a lot easier than the initial scanning of the memory. To filter the pointers, we need to iterate through them and use read process memory again and save the value into a much smaller buffer than before. This time we can compare the value stored at the address directly with the new value and only keep the pointers that are matching that. Similarly, we're going to use multithreading to speed things up. Once we know what our final address is, we can use write process memory to write a new value to it. This function returns a boolean that we can use to tell if the writing was successful. And that's everything we need to get it working. Now we have a program that can search through memory and write values to it, which we can use to cheat in Minecraft. Just don't search for value 0 initially. Still, it feels like something is missing. The program is not that user-friendly, so I decided to make a GUI for it. For that, I'm going to use monogame with a port of InGUI to render some UI on the screen. First, I'm going to add the window selector, then our value input along with the new scan and next scan buttons, similar to Cheat Engine. Then we need a scrollable list view that we're going to paginate because we don't want the app to run at 5 FPS when there are millions of addresses found. We can then plug in a new value input and a button for writing the value. And that's it. My memory hacking app, Cheat Engine clone, whatever you want to call it, is finally done. And to top it all off, it's time to hack Minecraft. So that's it, pals. This video actually took me a lot longer than I expected because I ran into a lot of problems when trying to make the cheat engine clone work. A lot of them being stupid bugs that they introduce when trying to figure out how to do everything. But I'm actually happy that I managed to get this done. And I've learned a lot of things in the process about how memory works. That being said, now that you've watched the whole video, I would recommend you to try this yourself since you know how the algorithm works. Trust me, you'll learn a lot in the process and you can do this in whatever programming language you want. I put everything in a GitHub repository so you can look through it to make things easier, and I will leave the link in the description. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and maybe join the Discord server so you can stay up to date with my videos, and maybe share the progress on your cheat engine clone if you decide to do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.